What's up everybody, it's Benjamin's Bay here bringing you another LEGO video with today my review of the old train engine shed as designed by the one whose name is currently on the screen, so I don't completely butcher it. Before I go any further, I want to mention that there are timestamps in the description in case you're interested in a specific topic, because I've got a variety of things to show and talk about. I will discuss the instructions, the building experience, spot usage and things that I found particularly interesting, both good and bad. That you may not have seen in other reviews already. I've also added a recolored locomotive from set 60052. More about that later. And furthermore, I will explore some modifications, such as trying to incorporate the standard LEGO train tracks rather than the custom one. And lastly, there is some food for thought if you want to add this build to your own collection. And a spoiler alert, it's not too difficult actually. And we start of course with the box. Not too much to mention here. I do love the clean design, the nice white background, the Bricklink logo, and then the basic information including a recommended age of 18+, which I do kind of agree with given the instructions, as we'll see in a moment. Once we open the box, there is your standard variety of numbered bags, but then also a white box with some more bags, a sticker sheet and a piece of thick paper with some information about the set. Packaging could definitely have been better here though, as the paper wasn't protected and it features some unfortunate crease marks. Perhaps the reason LEGO didn't bother with extra protection is because of the lack of physical instructions, which can only be found online. They are available for free though. I put a link in the description below in case you want to go through them so you get an idea of what you're getting. While I do prefer physical instructions, I understand why LEGO decided not to include those for environmental purposes. I believe the instructions were also made by the designer of this model, which is an impressive feat on its own given the size of nearly 600 pages and 713 steps. There are a few gimmicks though that you need to be aware of. First of all, on a handful of pages the camera angles were not correct, which makes it harder to see where certain parts need to be added. Secondly, there was one instance where a lot of bricks were suddenly added out of the field of view. And then lastly, there are some instances that just left me wondering if I was doing it correctly or if the build was truly unstable or even illegal. The rain pipe was a good example of this and made me decide to omit the bottom part of it altogether. Apart from these gimmicks though, the instructions are good and easy to follow. If you do find yourself lost inside, I recommend looking at the next page or so. Most of the time that will solve any unclarities you may have. Next, let's dive into the result, and here it is in all of its glory. Without the stickers, because I don't like stickers. I think for the most part they aren't needed, except for the clock, which I may add later on. Right at the bat though, I want to mention that I love the concept that the set is trying to capture. An old train engine shed with a lovely color scheme of medium nougat, dark orange, dark green and black. The big windows, the big doors, it's all there. A small wooden shack on the back. A ton of shrubbery on the corners, and then some excellent detailing with lots of fun side builds. And of course 2 tracks for plenty of room for a locomotive or a wagon, as well as some interesting minifigures. Let's start with the train engine shed itself. As I said, I like the color scheme of dark orange and medium nougat, although the transition could probably have been a bit smoother. Dark green is there too, some nice texture with those masonry bricks. One thing that does throw me off though are the white pieces on the top and bottom of the windows. I feel like it doesn't really complement with color scheme, and it also takes away from the idea of an old train engine shed. In my opinion, black or tan or grey would have been a lot better. The doors are great. I love the technique of using the transparent garage doors as shutters for the glass. Again, there are issues with the colors. I think the standard green should be replaced with a darker color, and I'm also not a huge fan of how the doors can't open all that far. They either are blocked by something or they get unhinged. In any case, we do have to keep in mind that the designer of all the Bricklink program sets are limited in parts they can use, as well as in which colors they can use for a certain part. So that could explain the oddities. That said, you might want to change some of what I mentioned here with your own pieces for a better balance. I am not sure how I feel about the wooden shack in the back. Maybe that could have been removed so that the train track sticks out a bit further on the front. Or that a train can actually run through the entire building. Something that was possible with the old train engine shed from 2003, but not with this one, which is kind of sad. Of course the details of that set were severely lacking behind compared to this one. Moving up, the roof design looks great, nice slope design, lovely chimneys, great use of those metallic silver grill pieces too. It is a bit sad that those 2x6 tiles there have a glossy surface while the rest of the roof has more of an appealing matte surface. This creates a difference that is quite noticeable, especially from certain angles. The roof is well secured but can still be easily removed to reveal the interior, with on top a crane that is somewhat underwhelming. I find it is limited sideway reach and you can't lower or raise the hook, which I guess was because including an actual black string wasn't allowed due to the part restrictions. The crane can be easily removed for good access. All the way on the left we have a propeller neatly incorporated into the wall. Then we have some brooms, a fire extinguisher, gas bottles, a tool car, a rack on the wall with some more tools. The other side features a crate, a drill, a workbench, and then also a wheel adjustment device. I believe this is used to keep the train wheels even due to the wear that they receive when running over the tracks. The wooden shack has some interior too, although I feel like this is a bit too cramped, but there are some nice builds in there. And some other things that I like: the train stop at the end of the front track, the pump wagon. It's a great side build and it's nice to have something to actually put on the track. It immediately gives the set more character. Same with the small car with the awesome sand blue barrel. No idea that was available in that color. The electricity poles at the door, a nice use of parts there. Same with the paint rollers for lamps. I thought it was an interesting technique as well. And then there are other details such as the crate, the cobblestone and the fencing. And of course the minifigures. Not too interested in those, but I still think we got a good selection there. The main issue I have with this set are the white pieces on top and the bottom of the window, but that can be easily fixed, and it's honestly a good sign that that is the most significant problem. So now let's take a look at adding a locomotive to the set. This is the locomotive from set 60052, the diesel style engine. It's pretty much an exact copy of the locomotive from that set, but then recolored. So all the blue pieces are now black and the bright light orange ones are now dark bluish grey, which gives it a more menacing, in my opinion, realistic look. It fits perfectly, although I do want to mention that there isn't a whole lot of room left inside once you put a locomotive in. Looking at it from the top, it immediately made me wonder how the minifigures are supposed to work in such a tight space. Originally, Maria designed the shed to be much smaller and include a small yellow locomotive, as can be seen on the LiQWYD page. After which it was scaled up. In my opinion, the building could have been a bit wider even still. Onto the tracks, where the question that immediately comes to mind is this set compatible with the standard train tracks? And the answer is yes, although it will require some modification. For the front track it's fairly simple. You could go the easy road and remove the custom track and just replace it with the standard ones. Or you could remove the grey plates altogether and add the track directly onto the green base plate, which is what I prefer. For the tracks that run through the building, things are a lot more tricky, so I strongly recommend trying to incorporate the standard track right from the start as you start building, as opposed to adding it later. Also keep in mind the height of the doors when customizing your track. As mentioned before, it's rather unfortunate that a train can't run through the building, so if that's what you're looking for, this may not be the set for you. Unless you're willing to make major modifications with additional cost. Overall, I feel like this is more of a display model, but it's an excellent one at that, especially with some minor color rebalances. It's a unique concept, it's a great piece donor, and I think it's a perfect example of why the Bricklink designer program is so great. We get builds that we would normally not get, designed by fans for the fans, especially in the case of this train engine shed, which is something we haven't seen in over 20 years. If you want to add this set to your own collection, you can only get it on the Aftermarket, but even though all of the 30,000 copies sold out, the current price is actually surprisingly fair. Here in the Netherlands I've seen the price relatively close to what it was originally sold for, sometimes even below that for a sealed copy. So by no means as crazy as the ridiculous scalper prices that were asked on eBay with the guaranteed pre-orders for over twice the original price. Now of course the purchase process of the Bricklink designer program sets is a whole video all of its own. But if you were late to the party, I wouldn't worry too much in most cases. Yeah, sure, it's possible that you may pay a premium, but with all the hype that is created there, you may get tricked into buying something much more expensive than you actually should. Don't forget you can also part the set out once the inventory is online. It shouldn't take too long. So you can buy the pieces separately or combine them with the ones you already have to recreate this build. So that's it for this video. I hope you liked this review and the Recolored train. For now I want to thank you guys for watching. I think it's time we take the train to the next idea, washing up on the shore of a golden beach.